Georgia O'Connor here. Big up Julius. Ring IQ. Welcome to the relay.
Welcome to the relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Hannah Gabriels' side of the story, I'm sure most of you have heard it by now. According to her promoter, Lou Dibella, applying medication to her dog caused Gabriels to test positive for clestaball. The old dog ate my homework excuse. Ate my steroids. These excuses get better and better. I'm not blaming Claricia for this, Dibella said, and I'm not complaining that Claricia picked another opponent. I understand that Hannah tested positive for a banned substance. I'm just explaining what happened here. Conor Ben and Eddie Hearn tried to explain what happened. Did you give them the same understanding that you were expecting us to give you, to give Hannah? Did you? Lou Dibella was quite outspoken when that Conor Ben versus Chris Eubank Jr. fiasco first kicked off. He had a lot to say, and now what he's asking for is understanding. The understanding that he didn't want to give those guys, that he didn't want to give Conroy. So why should anybody listen to your side of the story? This looks a lot like instant karma to me, folks. It looks like the universe decided it's time to pay Lou Dibella a visit. It's time to give him a call.
Hi, Lou.
And you'll notice that people don't have the same energy or the same level of outrage when it comes to Hannah Gabriels that they had when it came to Conor Ben, that they don't actually care about doping. They never did. And get a whiff of this. According to Lou Dibella, the real victim in this situation is Hannah. Could you imagine people's reactions if Eddie Hearn would have said the real victim in all of this is Conor? Conor test positive for a banned substance so that his promoter can tell me and you that he's the real victim in all of this. I mean, could you imagine? They'd crucify Eddie for it, but with Lou, they don't really care. Because it was never really about doping when it came to Conor Ben. It was never really about cleaning up the sport. It was just using that as an excuse to stick it to Eddie Hearn, stick it to Matchroom, and any one of his Matchroom fighters. They got a lot of rancor for those guys. Why? Well, I can think of a few. One or two. Better still, according to Lou, the real victim in this situation is Hannah. She hasn't had a payday in 25 months. That's over 2 years, and now she's out of a big fight. Her dog had major abdominal surgery. She applied the medication to her dog, and that's how it got in her bloodstream. As soon as she found out that she shouldn't have touched the medication, she stopped doing it. If I'm wrong, analyze the amounts and show me the amounts in her system that prove she was cycling or microdosing or whatever. It's a false equivalency argument. That's what it is. Lou knows better. Lou knows the presence of a banned substance in a fighter's system. I mean, that's just not how this works. But he knows that. He's just hoping that me and you don't know any better. You can't necessarily prove that someone intentionally took something. You find trace amounts of some banned substance, trace amounts, very low amounts. You can't prove that somebody knowingly took a banned substance, not based on the substance being present in their samples. You can't prove that they knowingly took it, but he knows that that's not how this works. Yeah. The bottom line is, the athlete is responsible for whatever finds its way into their body. Liability is on the fighter, irrespective of why. Test's not a goddamn time machine, you know. It's not a window into the past. It's not going to show us that you willingly ingested a banned substance to gain a competitive edge. All it can tell us is that there's something in the fighter system that's not supposed to be there. Lou knows that. But Lou wants to play dumb. Lou says, show me a test that proves she willingly took something, knowing that no such test exists. You're asking people to show you something that doesn't exist. To prove what? You just don't want to exercise the same prejudice or have the same prejudice exercised on your fighter that you exercised on someone else's, because you're a fucking hypocrite. It's that simple. The silver lining for Lou is that this entire fiasco doesn't have the same profile that Conor Ben's fiasco had. That happened on a much larger scale. Thus, it got a lot more attention, got Conor attention. But among those clutching at their pearls and wagging their fingers at Conor from the pulpit, Lou was one among them. Pipe down, Sally Stravas. He was one of those guys getting his little tiki torch out, shaking his fists at the sky that boxing needs to be a cleaner sport, a better sport. Yet here you are with this dog ate my homework or the dog ate my steroid story. Save it, Lou. Just save it. I suppose he had to offer up some explanation of some kind, right? Right, I mean, he had to say something. He had to face the music. Conor did. Eddie Hearn did. Now it's your turn. Yeah. I'm not blaming Hannah Gabriels, Dimitri Salita. Clarissa Shields' longtime promoter stated, "It's not for me to judge whether it was an accident or intentional. I accept that it was an accident. Fine, no problem. However, physiologically, she had this banned substance in her body, which puts Clarissa at a disadvantage. This is not an opinion. It's a scientific fact, and I'm going by what the scientific facts state.
Okay.
Once she's clean and clear, and she proves her innocence, then maybe we'll revisit the rematch in the future. But it would be beyond irresponsible and another black eye for the sport to allow a competitor with performance-enhancing substances in her system to fight somebody. Not to play basketball or to run, but to fight with somebody.
I mean, listen, there's no way you tell the boxing community at large. There's no way you face the music and say, the dog did it.
You're just not gonna make that sound good.
There's not too many ways you can say that to somebody and they keep a straight face. I barely can.
There's really no good way to say the dog ate my steroids or whatever happened.
Good one, Lou.
Men's heavyweight news. Yesterday, Tyson Fury posted this to his social media, a caption that reads, "A few days ago, I sent a draft contract to Anthony Joshua for a fight in September at Wembley Stadium. It's a fight that everybody wants to see, including myself. Come off, AJ. Let's give the world what they want to see. This time, I'm not going to make a million vids and keep putting pressure on. The ball is now on your side."
He says a few days ago he sent Anthony Joshua a contract. A few days ago the story was Tyson Fury's looking to fight in Australia.
Against either Opetaia, reigning IBF Cruiserweight champion, or Dempsey McKean, two guys that are both southpaws, the same way Usyk is a southpaw, presumably as preparation for Usyk later on this year.
That was the story a few days ago, so that a few days later you can claim you've sent Anthony Joshua a contract.
Make it make sense, because I can't. Eddie Hearn has caught wind of these comments from Tyson Fury, and he responded by saying,
I got sent, yeah.
No, I
Play it back.
fight that everyone wants to see. A few days ago, I sent.
Oh, you said I got sent, yeah.
No, I sent.
No, he hasn't. No.
I sent a draft contract to Anthony Joshua. Are you saying that's inaccurate?
Absolutely. No contract been sent to Anthony Joshua.
Okay. So is this just Tyson just writing this?
maybe
Is what
he
you're saying?
Yeah, no, maybe he thinks one has, but they definitely reached
Could he
out.
been told that was the
I've
case?
no idea. I mean, when I saw that post, I called George Warren straight away and said, "What's this?" And George Warren said, "No, he hasn't been sent a contract." But they have reached out to me to discuss the fight, but no contract's been sent.
Okay, so I know we like to kind of push deadlines on you when you give a vague idea, but surely you want to know, especially if Joshua is going to fight in August soon?
We're being told by Saudi Arabia that deal is on the verge of being closed, but we'll see. We'll see. We're not closing the door to a Tyson Fury fight. We're just going to make sure that Anthony Joshua's career goes according to plan and smoothly and not messed around by other people. But like I said, talking to George Warren on a regular basis, happy to explore that fight.
What did Joshua say about this? I'm assuming you spoke to him.
He doesn't believe it. He says, "Isn't he fighting that cruiserweight from Australia?" And I was like, "I don't think he's going to do that anyway." Well, he's just saying that he's fighting Australia next. So he doesn't, but
The indecision of Tyson Fury, his erratic movements, his erratic behaviors, and the proximity of these comments, one comment to the other. 1 minute, he's looking to fight an Australian fighter in Australia. The next minute he says he's in the market for a Joshua fight at Wembley.
Tyson Fury being in Australia to support his old buddy's Australian debut, Joseph Parker, that seemed reasonable enough until we started seeing reports that Tyson Fury means to fight there.
Why would Tyson Fury want to fight in Australia? I mean, that he wants to fight an Australian fighter?
Okay.
Alright, that he wants to fight a southpaw next in preparation for another southpaw in Usyk.
Alright.
So that a few days later the story becomes he sent Anthony Joshua a contract, which Eddie Hearn denies, and he's looking to fight in Wembley. Which one is it? What's really going on here? You can't make sense of Tyson Fury himself, Tyson Fury's comments, Tyson Fury's movements. You must think outside of Tyson Fury to get a better idea of what's going on. And near as I can tell,
What's going on?
well, Tyson Fury wants to get paid a certain way. He wants to get paid a certain way, and in order for that to happen, in order for that to be feasible, he needs the right dance partner.
Frank and Bob can't afford to pay this guy $25 million every time he gets out there with no hope of getting it back.
Tyson Fury wants to get paid a certain way.
But the value of every fight is not the same, fight by fight. Not every opponent is worth the same money, not every show.
Thus, paying Tyson Fury the way that he wants to get paid is contingent upon the value of the show, and not every show is worth the same money. Here and now, he's running a scarcity of high-profile opponents. Usyk is all tied up with Daniel Dubois. You've already been there and done that with Deontay Wilder and Dillian White.
You even fought Derek Chisora for a third time.
So you get to talking about Anthony Joshua again, the old failsafe.
The one guy you haven't fought yet.
But the problem there is that Eddie's story doesn't really match up with yours. You claim you sent Anthony Joshua a contract. He says the opposite.
Moreover, he's in the process of securing an August fight en route to that big showdown, that big Saudi show that we've been hearing about.
What's Tyson Fury up to? What is he doing? He's telling the Australians he wants to fight in Australia, jumps on social media, claims he wants to fight Joshua at Wembley. What is going on with this guy?
Cocaine.
He's lying to people on two separate continents to accomplish what? Well, you will notice that
What?
Tyson Fury has made all of this public. The statements that he made about fighting Jay Opetaia and Dempsey McKean, the more recent statements he's made in reference to fighting Anthony Joshua, he's making all of this public.
Why?
Because that's what he wants people to think.
It's not necessary to make these kinds of announcements, even if you are negotiating these fights, not that I think he is.
You can be serious about fighting Dempsey McKean or fighting Jay Opetaia or even Anthony Joshua without making all these announcements about it, because all these announcements...
All that means is that all of this is preliminary.
If your range of opponents ranges from a cruiserweight champion to an unbeaten up-and-comer to a former heavyweight champion, all that tells me is that you're in the preliminary stages. Thus, there's no reason to make these announcements.
Nope.
So why is he making them?
Because that's what he wants people to think. You can be in negotiations with all three of those guys. You don't need to make an announcement about it, but that's what Tyson Fury has done, and it's because that's what he wants people to think.
Trying to get people involved
Right.
with whatever it is he's doing,
Right.
whatever it is he's planning. Trying to get the people involved in order to apply public pressure.
That's why he's involving the public.
If there really were serious conversations happening, you wouldn't need to involve the public. If there were serious conversations happening behind closed doors for any one of those aforementioned fights with those aforementioned fighters, you wouldn't need to go public with it.
He goes public with it because he wants to control the narrative.
Look, guys, I'm trying to fight AJ again.
Look.
You're only seeing what he wants you to see.
Now, why would he want you to see it is the question.
You just told the world you were in the market for an Australian opponent because you mean to fight in Australia
Right.
this summer. Now you're telling the world you mean to fight Anthony Joshua at Wembley.
Is he doing the thing where he pretends that he tried to make a big fight and it's the other people that fucked it up so he won't get the blame?
Like what we saw last year when he pretended that he was serious about fighting Anthony Joshua while simultaneously putting up all these time constraints and deadlines.
He knew he wasn't serious.
Because you can't negotiate a fight like that under duress. It takes time. You're talking about two separate fighters that are with two separate promoters involved in two separate platforms.
Is he doing a thing where he pretends that he tried to make a big fight so that he can then blame the other person when it doesn't happen? Is that what this is?
That's what it feels like. You're lying to people on two separate continents. One minute you're saying you're going to fight an Australian heavyweight in Australia. The next minute you're saying you're trying to fight a Brit in Britain.
If I don't know nothing else, I know this.
People are tired. People are tired of Tyson Fury. They're tired of his shenanigans. Shenanigans like these.
Is it even worth trying to understand what he's doing?
Not really, because it all reads like a waste of fucking time anyway. That's what he likes to do. He likes to waste people's time.
So we shouldn't expect Fury versus Joshua at Wembley this September.
No, I don't.
Should we expect Tyson Fury to fight in Australia then this summer?
Don't know what to expect. Don't care either. Men's welterweight news. Former unified champion Keith Thurman says motivation to get back to knocking people out comes from Gervonta Davis.
Motivation? What motivation? This guy's fought once in the last 2-3 years.
And that was a year ago. If Keith Thurman wants to show the world how motivated he is, there's really only one way to do it.
Yeah.
The one thing, there was a time when I heard people commenting, is Thurman a gatekeeper? Thurman told the Yes News. I never met a gatekeeper that had one loss in the sport of boxing. I stopped knocking people out. I started putting on the whole show, but we're going to get back on those critical blows. Matter of fact, my motivation for dropping people is Tank Davis. Tank Davis showed me that. Why ever give up when you have that one punch power? Why ever give up on the exclamation point? Just do it. Throughout my career, I was always labeled a puncher. At a certain time, especially if you get to the 12-round level, if you want to stay at the top, you can't be exposed later on in the fight. Okay, he's dangerous for 6, 7, 8 rounds.
People don't think of Keith as being a gatekeeper because of one simple loss, one single loss.
That's not why. They think of Keith Thurman as a gatekeeper because after losing to Manny Pacquiao, he took 2 years off, he comes back, he couldn't stop Mario Barrios. They don't think he can compete with the younger guys that are out there. It's not because he lost one fight.
No.
It's because he doesn't fight.
They don't give him any kind of odds to beat the Virgil Ortizes and Jaron Boots Ennises of the world.
The Amon Tustanioneses of the world, the Radzav Butaevs, and there's really only one way.
If you want to prove that you've still got it, you've got to get out there and prove that you've still got it. You're not going to convince anybody doing interviews.
Just doing interviews, sound bites, aren't gonna cut it. Now that he's officially out of the running for an Errol Spence Jr. fight after the official announcement of the Spence versus Crawford fight, it's on Keith Thurman to get back out there and show his shit.
It's on him. It's your career.
Waiting around for Errol has not paid off for Keith.
Hindsight being 2020, he should have got himself another fight last year.
Because waiting around for Errol didn't pay off. You didn't get the fight, so you would have been better off booking another fight last year.
Yeah.
Another fight with somebody else.
Yeah.
Keith Thurman is a former champion, and so is Yordanis Ugas. Maybe they can make a fight between them, so long as both teams are realistic.
Realistic about the money.
They're both former champions, and neither one of which is a big draw here in the American market, so they have to be realistic when it comes to the money. If they were to try to make a fight between them. If they can't, because these guys think they deserve an arm and a leg every time they get out there,
fuck it.
Don't fight. Just keep doing interviews and telling everybody that you're not a journeyman, that you're not a gatekeeper.
Fuck it.
Don't fight. And see where that gets you.
Fuck it.
You rather do interviews asserting that you're not a gatekeeper instead of getting out there under the hot lights and proving that you're not a gatekeeper. Don't fight then. Fuck it.
Just keep doing interviews.
If Eddie Hearn made this guy an offer for a Conor Benn fight, do you think he would take it?
Or are we going to hear more about the sides of the street stuff? Because the side of the street you're on, they don't have you doing much of anything.
Relegated Keith Thurman's entire career to being a backup plan, a plan B for Errol Spence Jr. should things not work out with Terrence. I mean, that's the gist of it, isn't it?
That's why he didn't fight more last year.
Had the Barrios fight, thought that he was going to be able to get Errol in the ring, even though there were ongoing negotiations between Errol and Terrence.
He knew that.
But he seemed content just waiting for things to fall apart between Errol and Terrence so he could step in.
And it didn't work.
And it didn't pay off. Now what are you going to do?
Errol and Terrence are fighting.
Now what are you going to do?
More interviews.
Gonna do more interviews. This is why people consider today's Keith Thurman little more than a gatekeeper. Because he's not giving them any reason to think otherwise.
It's not because he lost one fight. You're not a journeyman for losing one fight.
People start to think of you as a journeyman when they look across the landscape and realize you can't beat any of those guys.
That's when that happens.